All right, thank you for staying. You're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital. It's time for us to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak. We'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. The lead story here says 2023, Atiku, Shetima, Obi profile solutions to Nigeria's challenges. The writer says, I will attract local foreign investments in health, education, ex-VP Atiku says. You should vote for competence. LP candidate tells citizens. We will lead our troops to front lines. APC running mate, that's Kashim Shetima there. You'll also have other stories above the lead story. Shekarau punches Kwankwaso's claims, leaves supporters guessing. You'd find that on page 25. Scores of terrorists killed as NAF jets hit Shekarau's successor's enclave. That's on page 6. Daily Trust Foundation inaugurates Media Lab, trains 25 in digital marketing. Also on page 6. You'd find below the lead story, again, NPF, PSC clash over constables recruitment on page 4. 2023, how Darius pardon stirs anxiety in Plateau political landscape on page 3. FG introduces rotavirus vaccine to avert 111,000 children's death, and that's on page 6 as well. Then you will also see below the pictorial, accidental vehicles flood Nigeria's market as cost of tokumbo rises by 100%. These are the stories on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, now let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper. The Leadership newspaper has a lead story that says, ahead of campaign season, Atiku, Obi, Shetima, others test ground at NBA conference. 2023 is about character, competence, Obi. Shetima, I will unite Nigerians against, this is from Obi and Shetima. Then I will unite Nigerians against insecurity, bad economy, others. Atiku denies plan to hand over federal varsities to states. Nigerians want issue-based campaign, Yaga. And then right above that, we have, I am done with NNPP. Kwankwaso has humiliated me, Shekarau. Above that, federal government promises to release trapped $464 million foreign airlines funds. We also have on the Leadership today, Odinga challenges poor results in Kenyan Supreme Court. Right beneath that, strike, reconsider your stand, federal government tells ASU. And then we also have the story here, gunmen kill hotelier, abduct friend in Kwara. These are the major stories on the Leadership newspaper for today.
All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. The lead story says, Tinubu, Atiku, Obi roll out plans on economy and security. You also see that the writer says, Shetima, APC standard bearer, and I will replicate our Lagos-Borno feats. Nigeria's unity, power, devolution, not negotiable, says PDP candidate. LP, flag bearer promises to transform Nigeria to a productive economy. You'll also find above the masthead, Why I Dumped NNPP by Shekarau, scores of militants killed as NAF jets hit ISWAP's camp in Sambisa. Lawyer, EFCC can probe states' accounts, finances. Tribunal grants Oyetola APC access to poll materials. You'll also find no work, no pay rule. NLC backs ASU on salary arrears. BOI, Nexim, OK, 101 billion naira, beg your pardon, for real sector funding, says CBN. These are the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
All right, now let's go to This Day newspaper. This Day newspaper also has a lead story from the NBA conference, though with slightly different writers. It says, at NBA conference, Atiku, Obi, Shetima decry state of Nigeria, proffer solutions. The first rider says PDP presidential candidate pledges to unveil draft constitutional amendment on day one. LP presidential candidate says 2023 election not about tribe, religion, but competence. APC VP candidate says we will create Lagos experience all over Nigeria. Right above that, we have police. This is coming from the police. Assassination plot against ex-speaker Dogara, true. It has a rider that says, a suspect has confessed to plan, disclose further investigation ongoing. Above the masthead, we also have the story, FG begins talks with airlines over trapped funds. Right above that, there's also the story there, lawmakers knock TCN over inability to explain power generation, summon MD. Alleged 3 persons committed Nigerians to $53 million monthly payment for Azura power deal. These are the major stories on this day for today.
All right, and on the Punch newspaper, the lead story there, still on the NBA conference, Atiku, Obi, Slam, FG, Shetima sells Tinubu's candidacy. The writers, everything negative, situation pathetic, worst ever. PDP, LP presidential candidates. I will hand over federal universities to states, says Atiku. Angry youths fault ex-vice president. Nation in disarray. Chimamanda Adichie, Tinubu will hit the ground running, says Shetima. Now, above the masthead, you'd find lawyer sues Buhari, others over NDDC management. ASU NEC decides on strike Sunday. Oil firms owe banks 5 trillion naira amid losses, theft. NNPC eyes 422 billion naira from 6 IOCs in August. And then below the pictorial, you'd see 570 million debt, contractor to sue Oshun over airport. Building collapse, Lagos orders probe, police arrest engineer. Olubadan fumes as hoodlums invade palace, disrupt ceremony. Now, these are the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
Well, now let's look at The Guardian. The Guardian is not any different. It has a similar lead story with other newspapers. It has NBA conference. Adichie decries leadership deficit as candidates unveil 2023 agenda. Its writers are about the same as what we have in other papers. Above that, we have PDP considers Southwest for IU's replacement. Also, we have gunmen abduct Rivers monarch. Police launch manhunt. All right, at the very bottom, we have Atiku will not hand over federal universities to state. Aid clarifies. Tribunal orders INEC to release Oshun polls materials to Oyetola APC for inspection. Shekarau set to leave NNPP, blames Kwankwaso. Then we also have the story here. Why suspect wanted to kill Dogara by Bauchi Commissioner of Police. These are the major stories on The Guardian for today.
All right, so let's get perspectives on this. We have in the studio our guest reviewer, Mukhtar Suleiman, a public affairs commentator, who will give us perspectives on some of the stories. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning. Well, sorry, before we even delve deep into it, I want to say congratulations to Trust TV.
Thank you, sir.
1 year, that's not easy, actually, especially in this space that we're in. Actually, it's been a very good. I've been a part of it for the past few months now, so I'm actually feel like it's.
Congratulations to you as well.
Congratulations to all of us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. All right. Well, the NBA conference is on virtually all the papers. Kudos to the presidential candidates of the top 3 now. I would say former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and also former Governor of Borno State, Kashim Shetima, and the candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. They are all providing solutions to Nigeria's problems, as captured by Daily Trust this morning. And you could clearly see the focus. Shetima says the successes in Lagos and Borno State will be brought to bear. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is concerned about the disunity in the country. So he says he is a unifier, and that's what he aims to do when he's given the mandate. The candidate of the Labour Party, he says Nigeria's problem is about production. We have to be, he wants to move Nigeria from a consumer country to a productive country. And he believes that only competence and visionary leadership can bring Nigeria out of the challenges that it's dealing with right now. So let's start with the former vice president. What's your take about his outing at the NBA conference?
I think we would have to speak more realistically to the situations on ground as opposed to the hypothetical statement that most of them are giving. And what I mean by that is, yes, you're a unifier. Yes, you want to give a product-driven, a producing-driven economy. You want to replicate Borno and Lagos. I don't know what that means. But there's still a reality that one person, I'm glad that everybody is speaking one thing, they are saying they want to do and projecting that, which is a good thing, as opposed to the former way of campaigning, we will solve all the problems in 4 years, which we know that it's not realistic anymore. However, I have a personal bone of contention with all three candidates. Followed the NBA conference online yesterday, and you listen to them speak, you listen to Shettima speak as if it's not APC that is the ruling party right now. They campaign as if Buhari is that wife they have in the house but cannot get rid of, so they can't even speak bad of him either. So they will just find a way to just circumvent everything else. That's one thing. Then from the side of Atiku Abubakar, he speaks like he was never a part of government, and also as though it is as easy as the way he says it, because if anybody should be much more realistic, it should be him. Then Peter Obi's own is, he speaks with blanket statements, like specificities are not there. You want to do this, you want to do this, you want to do this. Okay, fine, where will the money come from? How do you intend to handle it? I saw an interview yesterday, was it yesterday or so, or some, on Arise though, where he was asked how would he manage the House and the Senate since his members are not there. And his reply was they will all fall in line. I don't know what that means, which is actually a problem that we actually have to look forward to. So I think these candidates needs to, Nigerians are no longer, there's less political apathy as opposed to before. Nigerians are more aware. So we need to get into that. We want to hear specifically. Don't give us umbrella statements. Don't give us blanket statements. Don't make statements that sounds as if we don't want to say it because we are hiding it or something. It's Nigeria. If you really care about the country, even if this government will be the ones to implement what you said, and so what? We all want to move forward. That's the idea that we're actually planting. So I think that needs to be addressed from each and every one of the candidates. The NBA conference has actually, this is one of the best ones so far. I've never really had, I have friends who are lawyers, so because of that, I know when it actually holds. And I've never really had to follow it as traditionally as I have since yesterday. And I'm actually glad there's actually momentum. There's actually real matters being discussed on that stage.
Okay.
And
all right, you know, if you look at, you know, the discussions, a lot of people, say for instance on social media, I've seen several comments, people, mixed reactions following the NBA conference and all of that. And some are raising our brow about the fact that the flag bearer of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was not there in person, you know, and all of that. So some are, you know, having some kind of reservation about that. Yes, his VP was there, but, you know, some still feel that it's best, since there are other, you know, flag bearers there, he should also avail himself there.
I won't speak much to that, but I'm just going to say this one thing. I think it's 2019 repeating itself all over again, where we have the VP candidates more outspoken, more present than the presidential candidates. The mandates that we are going to go cast, the franchise we're going to go cast come 2023 is for the flag bearer. The VP can be changed at any time. We want to hear from you because apparently we are assuming that you are going to be steering the economy. You are actually going to be the one ensuring that you are the ones we're entrusting with our votes. So if you cannot give us the courtesy of coming out to speak on how you intend to navigate that waters, then there's a lot of questions.
Okay. You know, the NBA conference just provided a little opportunity for the candidates to showcase or tell Nigerians some of the things they're going to do. The Ray campaign actually starts in September. Yeah. So away from the candidates, I'm looking at what The Guardian led with. It says, Adichie decries leadership deficit as candidates unveil 2023 agenda. The Daily Trust captures it a bit differently. It says, Adichie lamented the lack of heroes. That's the way she put it. And she said that there were no more heroes for the youth to look up to. How do you look at that?
I love that part of her speech. It was a bit touching. I've always admired Chimamanda Adichie. Like, when she says we don't have heroes, actually, I think she's actually downplaying herself. She has actually been someone I look up to. And I listened to the speech yesterday, and it was heartwarming, honestly, and it was honest, because she didn't just, there was a part of the speech where she said, even from the son who treats his associates with some level of disregard, that's also injustice. That also needs to be checked. So I think she found this unique way to actually ensure that she encapsulated all of the issues and what we need to do in a manner of speaking, not really in a political sense, but going forward, this is necessary because heroes are important, because they are the bedrock of our society in a manner of speaking. They give hope. They embody hope for us. So if we don't have that anymore, because
but why don't we have heroes though? We have leaders. I'd like you to speak to that.
Now, it's not one or the other. I think heroes are somewhat embedded into the concept of leadership. But the way the political space is right now, it's a terrain where precedents have shown us that most people go in there for selfish reasons. So that needs to change. We need people who are going in there for the sake of the country. Not because they want to replenish their bank accounts that are already low, not because they are looking for the psychophancy that comes with the office, but because they really want to do something. And not just to do something, to have the structures and the political capital to do that. These are very important, because we don't want, come 2023, we don't want to vote in a well-intended, useless president, on one hand. And that thing is, we don't want to vote a non-well-intended, useful president, that, in quotes, useful in quotes. So we want to ensure that we get it right. I hope we do. I don't know who it is, but I'm just hoping that whoever it is that we come together to decide to choose in 2023, hi, inshallah.
Well, quite an interesting one. All right, let's move away from that, but still on political issues. You have the Shekarau drama, who has defected now from the NNPP. He says that, you know, Kwankwaso has disappointed him, something of that sort. Shekarau, the story is here. The story here is captured. Shekarau punches Kwankwaso's claims, leaves supporters guessing. So, I mean, this is just a few months after, you know, the joining of the NNPP, and now we are seeing that he is already leaving the party, even before the election. I mean, the campaigns begin.
I've always said this: politicking must politic, one way or the other. I think Andrew is somewhere sipping coffee right now, just watching the whole drama play out. I read the news earlier this morning when I woke up for prayers, and I don't think he has left yet. Hence the reason, yes, he didn't really say he was leaving. I think his cry was nobody from his own camp was appointed to any key positions in NNPP. Like, he felt his own people, given tickets. Yeah, his own people were left out. Tickets, yeah. I think so. His own people were left out of the whole process. So that's where his own bone of contention is, and he feels betrayed by the system. Starting a political party is not really very easy. I think this shows you, even by these political moguls, these are people that have actually played the game for a very long time. And if they are having these issues just a few months to the elections, I'm hoping that they actually sort it out, because NNPP kind of looked promising. And whatever it is that internally, that's their own headache.
There's this part of what he says that I would like you to speak to. He said that, you know, Kwankwaso says that the reason they didn't get the ticket is because of the time they joined the party, that the Shekarau team joined late. But the Shekarau team is saying, Shekarau himself is saying, no, they didn't join late. Because as a matter of fact, he joined at that time, he did, and he got the ticket to the Senate, which therefore, you know, he's saying he didn't join late. But it's also saying something that during his meetings with former Governor Kwankwaso, that when he went back to his Shura Council and told them what the Kwankwaso said, that they actually told him to extract the agreement in a written form, but that he said no. Now, I would like you to speak to that. In politics, you know, there's something they call gentleman agreement, but what do you think? Do you think that some of these agreements should actually be documented so that, you know?
Well, if it's, I've spent a little time in the political space, not a very long time, but the few moments I've spent there, I've seen deals being struck in a room just by the shake of a hand. One thing you can guarantee about politicians are that most of the time, if they make a promise to another politician, they actually live up to it, because that's your political capital that you're trading. So when we get to a point where we have to write everything, well, I'm not a politician, I'm sure that, but that would thwart the process for them a lot, because then that would slow processes, it would have to bring in room for details, and that might actually affect some of the way they operate. So I think that also, it depends on them internally, again, at the end of the day, whatever it is that they agree on, and hopefully, I think, like I said earlier, I hope that they actually do fix whatever their problem is.
Well, there are talks that he last week met with some executives of the PDP, and that sometime this week he may be meeting with executives of the APC.
That's politicking. Like I said, politicking must politic. Wiki has been meeting with
virtually everyone.
and still not seeing anything. Dilly-dallying is important. I think it's just a way of showing power. It's just a show of strength. But at the end of the day, if he's going to stay, he's going to stay. If he's going to leave, he's going to leave. All of the meeting wouldn't really actually mean anything at the end of the day.
All right. All right, let's take a look at other interesting stories. Accidented vehicles flood Nigeria's market as cost of tokumbo rises by 100%. If you may speak to this.
You know, for the very first time, a car is an asset. For the very first time in this country, having a car is an asset. I remember that my cousin bought her car for about 1.5 million and just sold it for about 2.8. I'm like, wow. This is
okay.
amazing.
In the past, they always said that cars do not have second-hand value
Yeah,
like that.
you know,
You never sell it more than what you bought it.
Yes.
So for the very first time, and this is because of the issue of the dollar, of course. And I think not entirely the dollar, even the marketers themselves are just taking advantage of that as an excuse to actually inflate prices here and there, and which is something that needs to be checked. I think we have a price control. They need to step up their game. Price for tokumbo right now, it's not child's play. Everyone is skeptical about getting a car. Even if you intend getting a car now, if you have a car before, you're happy because you can sell it for almost double the price. But now you have to buy the same car for almost triple the price, especially if it is new. So it's just wild, honestly. I'm hoping that everything is bad. And it's depressing.
Yeah, right.
It's really, really depressing.
Really depressing.
Well, I think we should look at this issue. NPF, Police Service Commission, clash over constables recruitment. Again, because this is not the first time. We've been through this part. We're there in 2019.
Yes. You see, for me, that headline sounds like my father's hand, my father's right hand, my father's left hand fighting over where the leg should go. It's the same body structure. We shouldn't be seeing certain things on the news, honestly. Honestly, some news are absurd. Like you mentioned earlier, it is, why? It's something, this is the police force. PSC is part of the police. All of them are part of the police force.
So except that one feels that it has the mandate to carry out this recruitment, you know, and not the other way.
Before the publishing of the, what do they call it that they do in government, for the procurement process, before they publish it on the paper for recruitment and everything, that should have been handled internally. After even the publishing, it should still have been handled internally. But for us to have the same thing, this is the same script again that happened in 2019, just replaying itself. You might as well just copy the news in 2019 and just paste it, and it's the same thing. So I think the police needs to check itself, because there are a lot of issues. Sometimes you hear they are threatening strike. Sometimes it's just, you see, so many things are just...
A lot of comments that have trailed this is the fact that we have always heard that we do not have adequate policemen to police the entire country. The state of insecurity is high. Should this even be happening at this time?
it speaks a lot about their irresponsibility as the entire structure itself, from even the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, because for the IG to be there, and this has to be an issue that had to have come out in the public and be on the front page of a newspaper, then they need to check themselves. In saying that claim, somebody should lose their job for this. Honestly, somebody should lose their job.
You know, the issue of synergy between government agencies, parastatals, appointees, and all of that has always come to the fore on the front line of papers. And a lot of times you feel, you know, you kind of, you are disappointed, and at the same time, you are surprised, you know, you are taken aback because you do not expect that to happen. I mean, just a few days ago, we were talking about the Minister of Communications, for instance, and the Minister of Finance as regards the issue of tax on telecommunication operators, you know, about 5% and thereabout. And when we saw Minister of Communications say, well, we were not carried along, we were not officially notified. I mean, we were not part of this decision. We just heard it just like anyone else. So it's kind of surprising that we'll have cabinet meetings, for instance, the Federal Executive Council meetings there that brings every cabinet member together in one place, right? And then for the security, you have Security Council meetings, isn't it? What exactly are the discussions when these meetings happen?
Well, if I was there, I would tell you, but I've never been in any one of them. We don't know what they talk about, honestly. It sounds as if they just go there, sing the national anthem, eat rice, and leave. Because if they have discussions that cannot yield positive results, that cannot translate into action, then the meetings are useless. So why have the meetings in the first place? It's not just update meetings. These meetings should be strategy meetings. These meetings should be for, okay, going forward, what are we going to do? This is how we intend to go about this. And I don't think it makes sense that one arm of the government, or not really an arm, maybe one agency can just up and wake up and make a decision that affects another agency without carrying them along. There are a lot of issues around that. Miscommunication is a very big issue in the government currently. We see that happen a lot from the power sector to every sector. There's
you know,
no
the
sector
danger,
that is even left out.
the danger of this, is, and why I'm particular about this, is the fact that this is going to stall the recruitment of constables, which are, I mean, they need these people to do the job.
Because those ones that actually come out with 1 star are not going to go do the job the constables are going to do.
No.
So, and these are the ones making the decisions. That's the senior police, the SPOs, the senior police officers, and this disagreement. And if you dig deep into it, it's a pride issue. There's a pride issue somewhere lingering there. Somebody feels as if their ego is bruised, and somebody else needs to apologize to the other person. That's just usually what it's all about. That needs to be addressed.
Should the security of a country be hinged on one person's ego, though?
Well, I don't think, well, that's a rhetorical question.
Shouldn't that be put aside, just, you know, whatever?
Some things are bigger than one person, one agency. Some things are even bigger than the president. And these are not issues that we should actually be debating. These are issues that shouldn't even be in the news in the first place. Shouldn't even be an issue in the first place.
All right, we hope that corrections will be taken and we do not have this kind of stories. We have another story. Olubadan fumes as hoodlums invade palace, disrupt ceremony. Quickly, in 2 minutes, I'd like for you to comment on this. I mean, this is like, I would say, the second time that we are seeing desecration of the palace. Would this have happened, say, 5 decades, 6 decades ago, looking at the traditional institution and the kind of, you know, influence that it has?
On one side, I've always had a problem with the fact that the traditional institutions of the country was not maintained. The structure was not maintained to be as powerful as it used to be pre-colonial. I have a big issue with how relegated they are to local government. On another side, you get to ask yourself, for communities like, for places like maybe Kefi, Nasarawa State, that has an emir of Kefi and emir of Lafia, who becomes what? Or who heads the government in the state, and all of that. But I felt like if we had put a lot of thought into it, these things would have been addressed. The traditional rulers are somehow the crux of tradition, and culture is very important. Culture tells us who we are, where we are going, and who we were. So if we begin to always disrespect the traditional, desecrate the palaces of these people as it is, as the way we've been doing for the past few, for almost 2 years now, then that's a big issue.
The other time we saw
it's a big
hoodlums, I think it was
above Lagos,
yes,
where they took away the staff.
The staff
Yeah.
itself, you know.
And these are things that we respected, and for it to be happening. But then again, on another side, you see that hoodlums are attacking everybody, irrespective of who is who and what is what. I don't think it's the citizens of Nigeria, really. I think it's the impunity that comes with that confidence that they have now, that they can do anything and get away with it. So the insecurity is rising. It's touching everybody. It's not small. It's touching everybody. So I'm hoping that, hopefully, let's get it right in 2023 so that all of this can actually be something that we can laugh over next year when we are discussing it.
All right.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll end the review at this point. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming on
Thank you
Daybreak.
so much for having me.
Our guest reviewer has been Mukhtar Suleiman, public affairs commentator, giving us perspectives on some of the stories on the front pages of our newspapers this morning. So we take a short breather now, and then when we return, the show will continue. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that look at the
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that